Hey guys, and welcome back again to Trying to with Leah. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Here we talk about perspective shifts that allow us to view the world with a more positive outlook. We learn from the things that we've been through in life, and we actively work towards becoming better versions of ourselves. So if that is your jam, join the journey by clicking subscribe or follow along, and you can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Today, we're talking about self-love. I think that this is one of the most important things that you can work on in your entire life, because self-love kind of serves as the foundation for everything else. The relationship that you have with yourself affects every other relationship in your life. It affects your confidence, your health, your career. It affects how much you're willing to dream. And it also affects how much you're willing to settle for and the kind of love that you're willing to accept from other people. So when people say things like you need to love yourself first, I think that a lot of us just roll our eyes because it does sound cliche. But the older I get, the more I realize that there's a lot of truth in it. Because how can you truly believe that somebody else loves you if you don't think that you're lovable? How can you accept a compliment if you fundamentally disagree with what they're saying? And how can you believe in your own potential if you've convinced yourself that you're not even worthy of success? Everything starts with self-love. And I think that that's something that I struggled with for a very long time. In fact, I still struggle with it from time to time. For years, I looked at my own mistakes and I used them as literal evidence against myself. Every bad decision and every failure and every regret, I carried those around like they were proof that something was wrong with me. I thought that my mistakes made me a bad person. And because I believed that, I didn't really think that I deserved much from life. I didn't think that I deserved happiness or peace or success. And I definitely didn't think that I deserved healthy love. But eventually I came to realize that I was never actually a bad person. I was a good person who had made some bad choices. And that is a huge difference. Bad people generally do not spend years beating themselves up over mistakes that they've made. They don't feel guilty about how they treated somebody, and they don't stay up late at night wondering if they hurt somebody's feelings. Only people who care really deeply do that kind of thing. So the fact that I even feel guilt means that I have a conscience. The fact that I regret the mistakes that I've made means that I've already learned something from them. And the fact that I want to do better means that I'm already becoming better. Our mistakes are meant to teach us and not define us. I talk a lot on this channel about how I believe that life happens for us and not to us. And I know that that's not always a popular opinion because life gets really hard. But when I look back at the hardest experiences that I've had, I see the biggest lessons that I needed to learn hidden inside of every single one of them. All of the pain and the failures and the heartbreak and the struggles, they all taught me things. And because of those lessons, I've become a better version of myself. Now, would I have preferred an easier route? Absolutely. I think we could all say that. But I would not be exactly who I am today without going through those exact experiences. And because I've learned from them, I kind of feel like it's my responsibility to share those things with other people. That's why this channel exists. If I figured out something that helped me transform my own life, I feel like I should be passing it along because maybe it can help somebody else too. I feel like that's a big part of my purpose. Now, here's where self-love can feel really complicated. Most people hear the phrase self-love and think that it means standing in front of a mirror saying positive affirmations or maybe making selfish choices and not really caring about anybody else. Now, don't get me wrong, affirmations are helpful And sometimes choosing yourself does feel a little bit selfish, but that's not at all what it's about. Self-love goes so much deeper than affirmations, and you can still care about other people while you care about yourself. But one thing that you can't do is love and hate yourself at the exact same time. Because if you genuinely dislike yourself, saying I love myself is going to feel fake. So before you can build self-love, you have to understand the self-dislike. And more importantly, you have to figure out where that came from. What exactly is it that you don't like about yourself, and why? Did somebody teach you that, or did you decide it for yourself? For me, one of the biggest things that I disliked about myself was being a people pleaser. I constantly overgave. I put everyone else first and worried about everybody else's feelings and everybody else's comfort. Meanwhile, I completely neglected myself, and then I wondered why I was constantly feeling drained. But the truth is, I didn't prioritize my own health or my own needs or my own happiness, and eventually that caught up with me. I let myself become physically unhealthy because somewhere deep down I believed that everybody else's well-being mattered way more than mine. And that's a hard thing to admit, but it's definitely true. And once I really sat down and examined that behavior, I realized that my people pleasing wasn't actually about kindness, it was about approval. I needed people to like me and to accept me and to validate me because I hadn't learned how to like, accept, and validate myself. And once I realized that, I knew exactly what I needed to change. I needed to become somebody who likes themselves so much that they're okay with not being liked by other people. Now, that doesn't mean putting yourself on a pedestal or becoming rude or selfish or treating people poorly. It just means understanding that not everyone is going to like you. And that's okay because you like yourself. You could be the literal sweetest peach on the tree, but there are still going to be some people who just flat out don't like peaches. The real freedom comes when you stop needing everybody else's approval just to feel okay. Because when you accept yourself, other people's opinions lose a lot of their power. And that's really liberating because a lot of us spend our lives looking outside of ourselves for validation. We're constantly waiting for somebody else to tell us that we're good enough or pretty enough or smart enough or successful enough or worthy enough. But that's only going to lead to disappointment. Your worth can't come from somebody else. It has to come from you. So at some point, I made a decision. I decided that I was worthy of love. Not because somebody else said so or because I felt like I had finally earned it. I just decided I was worthy just because I'm me, because I'm human, and that's enough. I believe that every person on this planet is worthy of love, including you and including me, including the versions of us that still have flaws and that still have healing to do and that still make mistakes. Because worthiness isn't something that you earn, it's something that you already have. And once you make that decision, the next step is learning how to treat yourself like someone who's worthy of love. And honestly, I think this is where most of the real work happens, the hard stuff. Because if you don't love yourself, your behavior reflects it. You talk down to yourself and you criticize yourself and you neglect yourself and abandon yourself. And I think that's why so many of us struggle with abandonment wounds. Somewhere in childhood or our youth, somebody made us feel like we weren't worth staying around for. Maybe it was a parent or a friend or a relationship, or maybe even it was multiple people. And because we were young or vulnerable at that time, we internalized that experience. And we assumed that it meant something about us, that there must be something wrong with us. But most of the time, that's not what happened at all. Most of the time, somebody else's inability to stay has very little, if anything at all, to do with your worth. It has everything to do with where they are in their own journey, their own fears and their wounds and their limitations. But we carry those experiences for years and allow them to shape how we see ourselves. And then one day we realize that the person abandoning us the most isn't even them. It's us. We're doing it to ourselves. We are neglecting ourselves and ignoring ourselves and dismissing our own needs. And then we're wondering why we're left feeling empty and alone. So what does self-love actually look like then? For me, it looks like taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. It looks like making choices that support the life that you're trying to build. It looks like protecting your peace and setting healthy boundaries and speaking kindly to yourself and keeping promises to yourself and even choosing growth over comfort. And sometimes it looks like doing things that you don't like to do because you know that they're good for you. It's a hard truth, but most of the time, growth is not comfortable. The comfort comes after the growth is done. When I started this journey, I had a lot of work to do. I was 236 pounds and I had multiple health issues and I was in pain all of the time. I had zero self-confidence and I was an anxious mess. And the changes that I needed to make felt overwhelming because there were so many things that I needed to work on. But I didn't start by trying to change everything at once. I started with one choice, a walk around the block every night. That was it, just that one choice. And then I chose the healthiest thing that I could find on the fast food menu. It was another small choice, just one. And that led to another choice and another. And little by little, those choices started adding up. The same thing happened with my self-talk. Every time I caught myself tearing myself down, I stopped and I replaced it with things like, I can do this, or I believe in myself, or I'm worth it. And in the early days, I didn't even believe those words that I was saying at all. But I kept saying them anyway because I was trying to become the kind of person who would believe them. I was literally building evidence, building trust within myself, and building confidence and belief in myself. And over time, it worked. Because self-love isn't a feeling, it's a practice. It's something that you choose over and over again every single day, even on the days that you don't feel lovable. Actually, especially on those days. Because the truth is, there are still going to be moments where I feel abandoned. There are still going to be moments where I overgive. There are still going to be moments when old beliefs and old habits try and sneak back in. But I know what to do whenever that happens. I don't look outside of myself for answers anymore. I just go straight back to self-love. I build myself back up. I remind myself who I am and how far I've actually come. And I give myself the things that I spent years looking for from other people. The encouragement and the validation and the belief and the care and the love. Because if you're constantly waiting for somebody else to give you those things, you're always going to feel like something is missing. But when you learn how to provide them for yourself, that's when everything changes. You stop needing people and you start choosing people. And those are very different things. I think that the healthiest relationships happen when two whole people decide to choose each other. Not because they need each other to survive or feel incomplete without each other, but because they genuinely enjoy experiencing life together. And I think that that's really beautiful. To know that the people that I choose to have in my life are there because I chose them, not because I needed them or felt incomplete without them. So this week, I want to leave you with a new challenge. Ask yourself honestly, do I actually like myself? And if the answer is no, why? What specifically do you dislike? And where did that belief come from? Who taught you that? Is it actually true? Or is it just something that you assumed was true because of what you experienced? Spend some time with those questions instead of avoiding them. Get curious and dig deeper, and then make a decision. Decide that you're worth working on, that you're worth loving. Decide that you're worth showing up for, because you are. The goal here is not to highlight your flaws, but to accept yourself fully. Accept your mistakes and the things that still need work. Accept your strengths and your weaknesses and your flaws and all of it. Because once you accept yourself, you can finally begin changing the things that you genuinely want to change. And that's not because you dislike yourself anymore, but it's because you love yourself enough to improve. So that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week. But until then, keep trying, because life does get so much better when you try.